History remembers Adolf Hitler as the man who plunged the world into chaos. But what of the soldiers who faced the aftermath of his vision? What of those who bore witness to the destruction, the lives shattered, and the innocence lost? This is the untold story of Adewale, a Nigerian soldier who fought under the British flag during World War II. Through his eyes, we uncover the horrors of war, the devastation of blind loyalty, and the scars that linger long after the final bullet is fired. How did one man's vision lead to such darkness? And what does it teach us about the cost of silence and the dangers of misplaced faith?
The smell of burning flesh clung to the air like an unshakable curse. I remember crouching behind rubble, my rifle trembling in my hands, as screams echoed in the night. It was a scene straight out of hell, one that no training could prepare you for. I'd heard of Adolf Hitler, the man who had plunged the world into chaos, but witnessing the aftermath of his actions was something else entirely. And yet, I couldn't help but wonder, how did one man's vision for his nation lead to this nightmare? My name is Adewale, a Nigerian soldier who served with the British Army during the Second World War. When I was recruited, they told us we were fighting for freedom, for justice. What they didn't tell us was the cost, the lives shattered, the families torn apart, and the unspeakable horrors that would haunt us forever. The war didn't start overnight. It was the result of years of tension following the First World War. After Germany's defeat in 1918, the Treaty of Versailles left the nation humiliated, its economy in ruins. People were desperate, angry, and looking for someone to blame. That's when Adolf Hitler rose to power. He was a gifted orator who promised to restore Germany's glory. But his vision came with a dark undercurrent, hatred for Jews, Slavs, and anyone he deemed inferior. By 1939, Hitler had built an army and begun invading neighboring countries, starting with Poland. His actions forced Britain and France to declare war. What followed was a domino effect. Alliances were drawn, and the world was thrust into a conflict unlike any it had ever seen. From Africa to Europe to the Pacific, every corner of the globe felt the war's impact. For me, it began in 1942, when we were sent to fight in North Africa. In 1945, as the war neared its end, I was stationed in Germany. Our mission was simple: secure Berlin. But nothing about Berlin was simple. The city was a ghost town, crumbling under relentless bombing. We marched through streets littered with the bodies of civilians, their lifeless eyes staring at nothing. And yet, this was only the beginning. One night, we stumbled upon a hidden bunker. The stench of death greeted us before we even opened the door. Inside, we found journals, documents, and photos, evidence of atrocities too horrifying to describe. One photograph froze me in my tracks. It showed piles of emaciated bodies in a concentration camp. I have heard whispers of these camps, but seeing proof with my own eyes was something else entirely. Hitler's final solution, they called it. It was genocide, plain and simple. But there was another side to Hitler's story, one that confused me. As we interrogated captured German soldiers, some spoke of how he had transformed their country. Before Hitler, Germany was drowning in poverty and humiliation after the First World War. He restored their pride, rebuilt their economy, and gave them hope. How could the same man who inspired such loyalty commit such monstrous acts? I couldn't shake the image of those lifeless bodies, nor could I ignore the stories of Germans who genuinely believed Hitler was their savior. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with questions. Was he a monster or a visionary? Could he have achieved greatness without leaving such destruction in his wake? As dawn broke, we received new orders, advanced to the heart of Berlin. But before we moved, I stumbled upon a journal left behind in the bunker. It belonged to a German officer who had served under Hitler. His words chilled me to the bone. The Führer's vision is pure, but purity demands sacrifice. The weak must perish so the strong can thrive. The man believed every word he wrote. And that scared me more than anything else. No one is born a monster. It is the beliefs we nurture, the actions we take, and the power we wield that define us. Adolf Hitler's story is a stark reminder of how dangerous it is to follow blindly, to let one man's vision overshadow humanity's shared values. As we moved deeper into Berlin, I began to see signs that the horrors we had uncovered were only the tip of the iceberg. And what we found next would force me to question everything I thought I knew about war, loyalty, and the price of victory.